How you guys doing? This is Captain Spencer Clark, Breaking Bass Guide Service down here at Table Rock Lake, Lake Taneycomo. We got a busy weekend in store for us coming up. It's 4th of July weekend coming up. 4th of July weekend, for a lot of people, that means coming to the lake, spending time with friends and family, whether it be celebrating with fireworks or getting out on the lake, doing some fishing, some boating. Branson's going to be popping this weekend. So just wanted to give you guys a quick fishing report. From what I've observed the last week of fishing Table Rock Lake and Lake Taneycomo, and hope to help you guys catch a couple more fish while you're down here this weekend. Okay, so in the last week or so, the top water bite has definitely fallen off quite a bit for me. Had a couple trips this weekend. We tried getting that top water bite to go, and for whatever reason, the fish just seemed like they just didn't want to come up and eat that top water bait as much as they had been the previous 2 weeks. Kind of contribute that to, we're getting into summertime. It's just getting a lot hotter. A lot of the fish are going deep. That's what they do this time of the year. So what we did have luck catching fish on, we got on some main lake points that usually produce this time of the year, and a couple of baits that we caught some really good fish on were your deep diving crankbaits, just a shaky head trick worm, and we're catching a lot of fish right now drop shotting. Right now for me, the better fish seem to be coming on a shaky head or a deep diving crankbait, and a lot of the numbers are coming on that drop shot rig. So some of the baits that we've been catching some fish on are like a Strike King 6XD, and it seems to me like if you're down on the main lake, kind of the dam area, more your shad patterns like your sexy shad color, that's working a lot better. If you're getting up into the rivers like the White and the James, been doing real good throwing a little bit of chartreuse. And there's a couple places that I got that are really deep. I've been actually throwing an 8XD out there and getting some good fish doing that this past weekend. If the crankbait bite slows down a little bit, usually for me it's been best like the first couple hours of the day. It seems to be that's when you're going to get that moving bait bite. And as the sun gets up, the boat traffic gets out, there just gets to be a lot more noise on the lake. What seems to be working really good is kind of moving to those offshore brush piles or just isolated pieces of cover, and I'm catching a lot of fish throwing just a shaky head trick worm like this. This is just a Zoom shaky head worm. I've got this rigged up on just a Chompers shaky head. This Chompers here works really good when you're fishing brush. It's got a little screw in it that keeps your worm just secure on there so you can drag it through some of the thickest cover down there. And I like to just take this shaky head and put it on there to where that hook point isn't quite through the plastic but just kind of inside. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure you use a heavy enough rod. Use a medium heavy to a heavy action rod depending on how hard you set the hook, how hard you've been hitting the gym maybe. That might change which rod you're going to use when you get out there and do some fishing. But that's been working really good. If that bite seems to go away and the fish are getting a little bit deeper than that even, what I like to do is I like to move out and target suspended fish. So I've been catching some fish drop shotting actually in about 80 foot of water. Usually the fish are anywhere from like 30 to 40 foot is where I've been finding them. Kind of on the main lake down by the dam. Up in the rivers, tend to be a little bit shallower, anywhere from like 20, 25 foot, catching a lot of fish in that depth range right now. One of the best colored worms I've been having some luck on this week is just a Morning Dawn Zoom swamp crawler. This works really good on a drop shot. Catch a lot of big spotted bass, dropping this down to them around that isolated cover this time of the year. Catching a lot of fish too, just relating to shad. These fish, they get right up under a bunch of shad balls, and you see some big arches down there underneath that shad. You can get right in a hurry targeting those spotted bass. Another bait that's been doing real good for me on the drop shot is just one of these power bait max scent worms. This is just a watermelon red. It's like a little shad bait or whatever they got here. This has been working really good on a drop shot. Catching a lot of spotted bass, dropping that down there to them. But overall, like I said, the fish are moving deep. I expect with 4th of July weekend coming up here, there's going to be a lot of boat traffic on the lake. Usually what that tends to do to fish when they hear all those motors buzzing and people running up and down the lake, it just drives the fish even deeper. Bass, while they're used to boat traffic, a lot of times what that boat traffic will do is put those fish tighter to brush, tighter to cover, and drive them down deep. Right now we don't have any like thermocline or anything going on at Table Rock yet. So those fish, I've been catching some fish as deep as like 45 foot deep right now. It just kind of depends on what part of the lake you're in. So anyways, that's the report on the bass fishing. I had a couple trips on Lake Taneycomo this past weekend, and one thing's for sure, what you need to do if you want to catch a lot of numbers of fish right now out on Taneycomo, a lot of trout, just get some of these gulp alive eggs in the orange. Don't leave home without them. The trout on Taneycomo love these things. We've been catching, anywhere from 40 to 50 trout a trip. Just working, these gulp alive salmon eggs in the orange color. Can't go wrong with these. You're going to catch a pile of fish. Caught a couple fish. One of the nights this week, drifting a scud. Caught some good ones doing it, but it definitely had slowed down from the previous 2 weeks. The hair jig for me has been pretty slow. You can catch a few fish on that. Another thing I've seen some people doing is just kind of floating like a pink worm on a real light jig head. Little pink trout worm on a real light jig head up around standing timber, like the different laydowns and stuff that are around the shores of Taneycomo. That's also catching some fish. And at least on my guide trips, we have been catching a lot of fish, drifted night crawlers. But for some reason, the last trip seemed like that had slowed down a little bit too. We're predominantly catching most of our fish drifting, the power bait eggs. But anyways, not too much generation going on right now, Lake Taneycomo. I was out there this past weekend, had little to no current. It seemed to me like a lot of times, we'll catch these trout, they'll be up closer to the edges of the bank. It seemed like most of our bites were actually coming out in the very middle, to where the fish were relating more to the deeper side of things. So you might want to give that a try. That seemed to be working a lot better for me this past week out on Lake Taneycomo. Right now, this weekend, 4th of July weekend, don't have any guide trips planned. But if you're looking for a guide to like to get out on Table Rock Lake or Lake Taneycomo and do some fishing, you need a guide, please get a hold of me. Love to get you out. Just give me a shout at 314-562-3332. Like I said, I'd like to get you out and we'll go do some fishing and try to stay out of the heat. Anyways, guys, that's been your fishing report, Table Rock Lake, Lake Taneycomo. Hope you guys have a safe and fun 4th of July weekend. Be safe, guys, and we'll stay tuned. We'll see you on the water.